Alright, so welcome back everybody. So for this video, I'm going to show you guys how to play Shallow Sea. So one of the things I'm going to be doing for this video is, as well as teaching you guys how to play this game, I'm also going to I'm going to take some turns and do a little gameplay as well to help you kind of understand how the turns will function in this game. Now, I'm also going to show you guys how to play with both the Rare Fish mini expansion, okay? And I'm also going to teach you guys how to play with the Nesting Season expansion, okay? With the Sea Turtle module. And I'm also going to teach you guys how to work with this particular type of coral tile. You'll notice there's purple on here and there's white. Well, white is not in the base game. There's no white on the edges of some of these tiles in the base game. But if you have the Nesting Season expansion, it adds these tiles that have the white coral on the sides, or the white color on the sides. And so I'll teach you guys how that functions and how that's going to work as well. But it's an easy module that you can add to the game, even if you're not playing with the Sea Turtle expansion here, okay? So let's talk about how you can score points in this game. One of the ways you can score points is by simply just completing coral tiles. So you're going to be taking tiles and putting them on your ocean board. And when you complete said tile, and I'll teach you guys how you will complete them later, but when you complete them, they're going to be worth victory points at the end of the game, okay? And at the end of the game, you're going to score the value based on which coral tiles you completed. So that's one of the main ways you'll score victory points in this game is by completing coral tiles. However, if you are unable to complete a coral tile, so this side would be considered an incomplete coral tile at the end of the game, is worth 0 points. So at the end of the game, this is 0 points. At the end of the game, this side is 5 points if you complete it, okay? All right, now that said, there's another type of tile in this game, and that is going to be sea life tiles, okay? At the end of the game, okay, a sea life tile, if it's on this side, if it's completed, it's going to be worth a certain amount of victory points. For the sea turtle, it's 6 points. But you'll notice on this side, it has a 2 below the 6. If you're unable to complete this tile, but you meet the necessary conditions for part of this tile, it's just not enough to complete said tile, then you can get some victory points still, even if this isn't complete. So that's another way you can score points. And we will explain the iconography later, but that is something there to note. So, well, like I said, we'll talk about that later, okay? You'll also score victory points for these ecosystem cards, okay? There's orange and there's blue, and you usually play with one of each. And so depending on which one you're playing, you can score victory points as well. So this one is mismatched. It's going to give you 2 victory points per completed coral that has a completed fish of a different color. So let's use an example. So here we have a red tile, okay? If I had this yellow fish on that red tile, I'd get 2 points for this card, for just this alone, because I have a mismatched fish. This is a mismatched fish. So in this game, you do not have to match, the fish do not have to match the tiles of the coral that you're putting them on, and we'll explain how you will put them on there and which ones you can put on there later, but you can score victory points for mismatched tiles for this one here. The one they recommend you play with is the first gold card they recommend you play this is the exact opposite of this, where you want to try to put matching fish with matching coral to score extra victory points. But that is something that you can do to score victory points. It's another way to score victory points. And this gold card here actually works with the Rare Fish mini expansion. So let me explain this rare fish. So everybody's going to get one of these, and they're different, but they're just different to, add a fun factor to the game. They do not have to match the ecosystem card, okay? Because everyone's going to have a different one anyways. anyway, so what this means is, this is a sort of a block. The setup will tell you, based on which one of these system cards you're playing with. There's only 3 that you can play with this rare mini fish expansion, but it's going to tell you where to put it, and so it tells me to put it right here, you know, based on this setup here. And so what this goal card means is at the end of the game, I'm going to score 2 victory points per different completed tile neighboring a rare fish. That includes potentially other sea life tiles like this one here. That also includes the coral tiles over there. So for every different one of the corals, meaning different colors or different types of sea life that are completed, that surround this fish here that on my board. So that would be all of these, including this, 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 and this, and this, and this. All of that. Anything that's completed there is going to give me 2 extra points for each one of them. So I'm incentivized to try to surround it and complete those for extra points. So that's how that's going to work. We'll explain the rest of the module of this later, but it's pretty simple. But yes, that's how you would score points for those goal cards. And like I said, there's lots of these ecosystem goal cards in the game, okay? So that's, you know, some of the ways you'll score victory points in this game. If you're playing with the nesting season expansion with the sea turtles, and you're able to get a sea turtle up here, you're going to score victory points based on, you know, if you were the first player to do it or the second player or whatever. You're going to score a certain amount of victory points. You have to meet certain requirements. So if you're just playing as a free action, okay, on your turn, if you are able to complete 5 fish of the same color, meaning these, if I had 5 purple fish on my coral tiles that I was able to complete, if I have 5 and they're the same, then I will meet the conditions of this tile. And if that's the case, then I could put my sea turtle here if I was the first one there. And in this version, if I'm playing a 1 to 2 player game, that would score me 10 points first. So that's 10 extra points. That's nice. So basically, the nesting season is just another way of adding more scoring options to the game. Just another thing to add more scoring. That's all it really does, which is fine. It's an easy expansion to include. Same thing with the rare fish mini expansion. It's an easy module to add to the game. That's how scoring is going to work for the most part. You also might score points for incomplete fish as well. So, and we'll explain that later. But that's another way you can score points in this game, is for incomplete fish and stuff like that. So let me get started. Oh, and there's one other thing. If you're playing the solo game, okay, you might get some fish onto this card. We'll explain how you might get fish onto this lionfish card, okay? But you could potentially be deducted points in the solo game. And we'll explain how that might happen later, okay? But yes, that's how you're going to score points in this game. So let me explain the flow of the game now, okay? Your turn is going to consist of something similar to a game called Cascadia. Cascadia, the drafting system of Cascadia as you draft tiles and animals, is basically the same thing. On your turn, you're going to take a tile and a matching fish, okay? And that's what you're going to do for your turn. You're going to take but one from each of these columns here. Now, I have to always take the corresponding fish, but I do not have to grab a coral tile. I could grab this sea life tile, but I still have to grab this fish that goes with it, okay? And then at the end of your turn, you'll replenish based on which tile you took, and obviously replenish the fish, okay? Just also, another thing that's very similar to Cascadia is if you don't like any of the fish, if you don't like the fish pool that's currently out, because they're all the same or for the most part, or you need a particular color and it's not out, or maybe there's a particular color of coral tiles you want, but it's not out. Like, let's say I really need green, but there's no green out. this is something you can do. On your turn, as a free action, you can spend a seashell to wipe the pool. So I can discard all of these tiles, okay? But if I choose to do that, I have to discard all of these tiles from this row and then replenish and then put all of the ones that I discarded back into the bag, okay? Same thing for the fish, same thing for the sea life, okay? So that's one of the things that you can do with these seashells. The second thing that you can do with these seashells that you can spend is you can spend one to take a tile and a fish of your choice. So they do not have to be in the same row. If you decide to spend a seashell, you can take one fish of your choice with another tile from another column of your choice, okay? So that's how that you could do that for sea life tiles as well. But that's the second thing you can do with seashells. There is a third thing you can do, but I'll explain that later, okay, as it's more relevant to as we start playing the game. So I'm going to go ahead and start playing the game and explaining how turns will function as we go. And I might be pausing here and there, so that way I can think of my next strategic move, all right? So hold on. But before we get started playing, let me talk about some of the iconography here and some of the terminology in this game. So if you see this icon that looks sort of like a shell, this indicates coral, okay? If you see this sort of like this equals icon here, this with the two green lines, that means same, okay? So that icon with the two green lines means same. And if you see one, for instance, with a red, with two red lines, with the red line crossing the two lines, this means different, okay? That means different. It's still coral, because it's still got the coral icon, but that means different, okay? So that's something relevant to think about. The fish, if you see this icon, it means fish. Same fish, okay? And there's one that's going to be different fish as well. So those are the different types of icons that you'll need to remember how they function. And we'll kind of explain what that all means later, but that's some of the things that you're going to want to remember. Also, there's some terminology that's important to remember. You can have a complete coral tile. You can have an incomplete coral tile. You can have a complete fish. You can have a incomplete fish, and that incomplete fish is pretty relevant to this game especially, and we'll get to that later. You can also have a complete sea life tile and a incomplete sea life tile. So some of the terminology to remember in the game to take note of for sure. So let me get started by taking my first turn of this game, because I'm going to start playing now. So let's say I'm going to take this tile here, and I'm going to take this fish here. Now you'll notice this is a green fish, okay? You'll notice there is no green on this tile here, okay? So normally when you take a tile, the tile you're taking must be placed to a tile that you already have out. And that's why you start with one sea life tile, is you need to have a place to start, basically. You can kind of choose where you're going to put your sea life tile, but that's kind of the idea. So I have to place it either here or here, because those, well, or here, I guess, too, because these are adjacent. Nothing else is adjacent. Just these three spots would be adjacent to this tile here. And so that I have to place it in one of those spots. So let's say, and when you place a tile, okay, so this is an interesting thing. You can place a tile in any direction you want. So while it's nice to do this so that way, you know, the certain dot is pointing up or down, right? You can place it like this, for instance. You can place it in this orientation and this orientation. That's fine. Same thing with these sea life tiles. If I wanted to, I could have started up here and placed the manta ray in that orientation, which indicates for those. Okay, so let's just say I'm going to place it there. Okay, and let's say I have it there for you know, because I wanted to have it there, obviously. So anyways, so then let's say I want to place maybe this one here, for instance, okay? like that. Now, when you place a fish, it does not need to be placed next to the tile that you just placed. So, for instance, if I wanted to, I could place this fish over here because it's farther, because it's not next to this tile, but I could place it there if I wanted to, okay? But the thing is, you always have to place these fish on these little bubbles, okay? So they're always going to be placed on the little bubbles that surround all of these tiles. And you still wouldn't be able to put the fish over here because it still has to be adjacent to a tile, even if it's not the tile that you just placed. But let's just say, for the point of argument, I place this green fish here, okay? Now, in order to complete this coral tile, I have to meet the needs of this tile. So I need to have a purple here, okay? And then I need to have, and then it doesn't matter which fish I have here. So basically the white color here is actually going to indicate wild. You can have any color you want. You just have to have fish on both sides in order to complete this tile. So I could have a red one here, I could have a purple one here, and I'd have a complete coral tile already, okay? So that's how that's going to work. And like I said, these white ones, these ones that have the whites on the sides are only if you have the nesting season expansion. But like I said, it's a simple, easy module you can add to the game that doesn't really change the game all that much. If anything, it potentially gives you some, makes it slightly easier to finish certain tiles, for sure. So that's something I can do for sure. I can do that, okay? And the dot is always going to be on the bottom, so this is this would be a coral that would give me 6 victory points if I complete it, okay? So, but we put it like that, okay? So that's a turn. So then I would replenish. Okay, so now that it's been replenished, I can take my next turn because I am playing solo here. So the next one I'm going to take is going to be this one here and this one, okay? Then, of course, I can place this. It has to be placed next to something I've already placed down tile-wise. So all of these are available, okay? Also, you can never place a tile on top of your rare fish. So this is a blocker, as well as something that's going to give you extra points, okay? But yes, it's still not a huge problem, even though it is huge. Anyways, so I'm going to place this tile right here, okay? And you'll notice it nicely matches up with this green fish I have here. Now, when you place a fish, and I haven't placed this red one yet, but you'll notice this is purple, even though I would be incentivized to put a purple here so I could, finish the tile. I am not forced to put purple here. I can put a red one here. It just means I can't complete this tile anytime soon, because that could change, of course, and we'll explain how that could change eventually as we get to a point where I can complete one of these coral tiles. So, but yes, I could put this red fish here, and that would be fine. But personally, I would want a purple one there if I can help it. But it's not a huge issue if I can't. But still, that's something to note if I haven't mentioned that already. So really, the only place I can put this fish that would really help me is here, because I can put any type of fish color here to help complete this one. So now the only thing I need is a purple fish in order to complete this tile here, or this tile here for that matter. They both need purple. And there's at least one purple fish out, so that gives me some ideas for my next turn. So let me go ahead and replenish, and I will decide how I want to do my next turn, and I'll get back to you guys. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and take this purple fish, okay, and I'm going to take this tile here. Okay, now the purple fish is what I want for sure, especially for educational purposes for this game. But first, let's go ahead and place this tile here, right here, like so, okay? And then I'm going to go ahead and place this fish, let's place it right here, okay? Now, all of these fish are now surrounding this coral for this coral's needs. And so immediately, I get to flip this coral tile over to its scoring side, which is awesome. So my first coral is finished and it's flipped over. Now, a couple of things are not going to happen now that I've flipped this coral tile over. One of the things that's going to happen is I now must put one of these fish that finished this tile onto the coral. That has to be done. I don't have an option. I must put one on there. And since I am playing with the Mixed Matched card, I'm invested in putting either the red or the green. Now, if I put the green on here, that means I would have to get another green and a purple to finish this tile. So I don't want to do that. So we're going to put the clownfish, the red one here, on top of the purple coral for extra scoring purposes, and now that's complete. Now, the second thing that is going to happen when you complete a coral tile is you get a seashell for doing so. So now I have 3 seashells I can utilize, which is awesome. Now, before I replenish, I have a free action that I want to do, okay? So that free action is going to be using 2 of these seashells, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and use that. I'm going to pay these 2 seashells to move an incomplete fish to another bubble. That's what this particular free action can do. Once per turn, I can spend 2 seashells to move an incomplete fish, which this is a complete fish because it's on the coral tile. This is an incomplete fish because it's still in the bubble, to another bubble of my choice. So we're going to go ahead and pay both of those seashells. So this is the third and best way to utilize your seashells. So then I'm going to move this purple fish to this tile right here, or to this bubble next to the tile. Now you'll notice that now that actually completes this one as well. So that means on the same turn, I can complete multiple tiles. And so yes, I get to flip this tile over as well. And that means I must also put a fish on top of it as well. And since I'm invested into doing different colors, I'm going to go ahead and place this green fish on top of it. And then because I completed that tile, guess what? I get another seashell, which is awesome. Cool. Okay, but then look, you'll notice I've got these 2 complete, but something else is now going to happen. My manta ray here, the way this is going to work is for this particular thing, I need to have a tile in this formation and this formation next to the manta ray, which I do. I have 2 tiles. And you'll notice on the manta ray, it has the same icon, okay? Meaning, and then it has the coral icon, which means that the coral tiles have to be the same color. That's what that means. And they are the same color. So guess what? This manta ray is now complete. He is satisfied. I have satisfied his conditions. And so now I get to flip over the manta ray to the scoring side, and he's going to score me 6 victory points as well at the end of the game. And even when I flip over a sea life tile, I still get, guess what? Another seashell. So anytime you flip over a tile, whether it be a coral tile or a sea life tile, you're going to get a seashell. Isn't that awesome? So that's how that's going to work. Now, another way you'll score points in this game is for each different species of animal that are these sea life tiles, you're going to score 2 victory points for each one of these sea life tiles that you complete that are not the same species. So if I had 2 completed manta rays, I'm only going to get the 2 points. But if I had a manta ray and this completed, for instance, this great white shark, that would give me 4 points, extra points at the end of the game. So that's another way of scoring victory points at the end of the game. Now, another thing to note is these incomplete little fishies here that aren't on coral, they will score you points based on completed coral that surround them. So this particular incomplete fish is going to score me 1 point because there is a completed coral adjacent to it. So that means if I had a completed coral here and a completed coral here, this fish alone, this incomplete fish alone would score me 3 victory points. So that's another way you're going to score victory points in this game. So that's awesome, right? And then this shark here, okay, you'll notice it has the coral icon, but you'll notice it has the different icon on it. So that means in order to flip this over to the other side, I would have to have a tile here, and a tile here based on this formation, and they would have to be all different colors. So I guess this would have to be purple, this would have to be red, or this would have to be green or yellow, or vice versa, right? In order to complete this tile here. Some of the other tiles. So let me explain some of the other tiles. So this arrow means, so let's say I place this here, okay? Now what this means is any fish that is in this exact, direction, and any fish that is in this direction that's completed, as in it's on a coral, and they have to be the same, okay? I'm gonna get to flip this over. So let's say I had two greens going in this direction. So I had a coral here, or let's say I had a coral here and a green here, and a coral here that's green as well. It wouldn't matter if this one had a coral on it and it had a yellow one on it. It would just have to have the same in this direction and the same in this direction, okay? So if I had two in this direction and two in that direction, I could flip this tile over if they were all the same color, if I had at least 4 of the same color in those directions. There could be 3 in this direction and 1 in that direction, and that's fine. But you'd have to have 4 of the same color in those directions in order to complete this tile, for instance. And let's see. That one's also the same thing, basically. Well, actually, it's with coral. So if it was this one instead, okay, well, you'll notice if I placed it here, there's nothing here to place. But if I had 2 coral that were the same color in this row, in this direction, I would get to complete this tile as well. So that's kind of the idea of how you can complete the majority of the different sea life tiles that I've explained. I think I've explained the game pretty well so far. I don't know if I'll continue playing the game. I just wanted to give you a few ideas on turns that you could do. So I think I've accomplished that now, hopefully. So you can also only have 5 seashells at most. So use them wisely. I mean, use them often, because you'll be getting, sometimes multiple seashells on the same turn. If you're playing the solo variant, okay, so this is optional. If you're playing the solo variant and you don't have enough seashells, but you need to replenish the pool, one of the 3 pools, or you want to relocate an incomplete fish to another location, and you don't have the seashells, what you can do is you can take a fish out of the bag and place it on this card in order to take the action. Now, if it's something that only costs a seashell, then you're just going to take one out of the bag and put it onto the card. If you have no seashells and you want to take the action to relocate an incomplete fish, then you can take 2 fish out of the bag and put them on this card, or any combination. So let's say I had only 1 seashell left and I wanted to relocate an incomplete fish. Well, I could spend that 1 seashell and then put one of these fish onto this card. Now, the first 2 fish that you put onto this card aren't going to affect you in any shape or form. But if you continuously do this, then any other fish you add after the first 2 is going to deduct you 2 points each. So, use that ability that you have for the solo variant. This is the solo variant only. Use this variant wisely. But yes, that's how that's going to work. And like I said, you just want to complete certain things. These are always going to be different with the nesting expansion. But if you're the first player who, gets 5 of the same complete fish on tiles, if you're the first person that does that, you're going to get, if you're the first person that does 5, you're going to basically get 10 victory points. If you're the second player to do it in a 2-player game, then you're going to get 3. And if you're playing a 3 or 4-player game, this is double-sided. So there's another side to this. So for more scoring options for, higher player counts. This one, for instance, is if you're the first player that completes corals that are 4 different colors, meaning you've got a green, you've got a red coral, you've got a yellow coral, and a red coral, right? Red, blue, red, purple, green, and yellow. If you have all 4 complete, you're the first person that does it, you're going to get a certain amount of victory points first. And then this one is if you're the first player to get 4 complete sea life tiles done, then you can get some extra victory points with your sea turtles. And you only have 2 of these, so you won't be able to complete all 3. You can only do 2 of the 3 nesting season goals here, or tiles. But basically, I think that explains the game for the most part. I think that's good enough. I hope this video helps you guys understand how this game works, and I am going to call it here. And thank you guys for watching this how to play video with a little bit of gameplay, and I'll see you guys again next time. Bye.